What moment made you realize someone wasn't the enemy you thought they were? When my husband and I applied for a mortgage loan, we thought we had everything in order. Perfect credit scores, stable jobs, and we'd saved for 5 years to get that 20% down payment. We walked into that bank feeling hopeful, but the loan officer Sarah seemed extremely nervous when she called us into her office. She kept glancing at her computer screen, then back at us before saying there was a small issue with our application. Your employment history shows instability, she said. You took 6 weeks off a few months ago. I couldn't believe it. I explained that the 6 weeks I'd taken off was family and medical leave when my daughter literally nearly died last year and was in a coma. The leave was legally protected, but Sarah wouldn't listen. She just kept apologizing and saying we needed more documentation. Her voice sounded like she was reading from a script. That night, our motel raised the rent by $200 for extended stays. I picked up a double shift to cover it, while my daughter asked why we couldn't move to the house beside the hospital yet. We resubmitted everything as soon as possible. We gave doctor's notes explaining my daughter's condition. We collected 5 years of pay stubs, 5 years of bank statements. Yet again, Sarah called back saying we needed to show a more consistent savings pattern. What really broke my heart was what happened next week. I was waiting in the bank to drop off more paperwork when I saw a white couple get approved. This wouldn't have been a problem had the woman not been literally laughing about how they'd both just started new jobs the month before. Unfortunately, our daughter got hospitalized again that same week. It cost us $3,000 after insurance. Money was running thin, but we again resubmitted with even more documents. But once again, Sarah denied us, saying we needed character references from established community members. And so my coworkers wrote glowing letters, which I submitted, but of course Sarah called saying the references didn't fit what they were looking for. It felt like nothing was going our way, especially because the motel served us a 30-day eviction notice. Not knowing where to turn, I went to the bank and begged Sarah in person. I explained how my daughter had sickle cell disease. She needed stable housing near the hospital, and how the moldy motel room was making her sicker. Sarah's eyes filled with tears, but she kept saying, "I'm so sorry, but my hands are tied." That's when I noticed her boss watching from his office with this satisfied smirk on his face. I left that day more hopeless than ever. My husband had to take on a second job. I had to start working 80 hours per week. That's when I met another black family at the bank with the same story. Just like us, they had been denied over and over for reasons that made no sense. For some reason, that filled me with determination. I stormed into the bank the next morning wanting to ream Sarah out of it. But then I saw her, and she slipped me a note while her boss wasn't looking. Document everything. Keep trying. Her hands were shaking. We were down to our last week before eviction when we submitted our 7th application. 200 pages of documentation. Everything they could possibly want. Sarah called the next morning talking fast. "You're approved. You have 24 hours to accept before it goes to review." Her voice was barely above a whisper. My boss is at corporate today. My husband and I dropped everything and rushed to the bank. We had just signed the papers when her boss stormed in looking furious. His face turned red when he saw us, but Sarah had already processed everything. She leaned over and whispered, "He can't reverse it anymore. I'm sorry this took so long. I'm so sorry. I really tried. Please forgive me." It then became clear to me that this woman wasn't the enemy. She was risking her own job to help us. We got the keys to a house 2 blocks from the children's hospital just days before the eviction. 6 months later, I saw Sarah at the grocery store. I approached her to talk, and she told me she'd been fired soon after our case, but she seemed at peace about it. "Your daughter's doing better?" she asked. I nodded, too choked up to speak. This woman I'd thought was our enemy had sacrificed her career to save my daughter's life. I'll never forget that.